In a world where most people watch movies and then forget about them, these brave heroes join forces to watch them again and then talk about them. Join them in their epic journey as they go back in time, a decade and beyond, to revisit and break down films from a vast array of genres. Do these movies hold up over time? Are they classics? Find out on Retro Movie Roundtable. Starring your hosts, Brian Fry, Chad Robinson, Dustin Melbardis, Lizzie Haynes, and Russell Guest. Coming now to headphones in your ears.
Welcome all you lords, ladies, and knights to the Retro Movie Roundtable. Welcome to the show where we watch movies and then talk about them. I'm your host, Russell Guest, and joining me today from right here in the Steel City of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, my good friend and co-host, Mr. Chad Robinson. How you doing, sir?
Doing well. I'm old enough to have hit the point where I wake up and I'm broken. So I cannot turn my head. Welcome to old age. You'll get there too, kids.
Oh, we don't want you to be broken. We got to get all the king's horses and all the king's men to put you back together again.
Oh, it's all the Novocaine and all the other things that end in cane, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Lidocaine is what I am using right now.
Excellent.
I'm not using anything. I'm scared for this. This could be a very interesting show here. So there's a familiar voice coming to you, this time from Montreal, Quebec, in Canada. Special guest, Ms. Bears Rebecca Fonte. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. This was fun to come back, and this is one of my very favorite movies, so I'm excited to talk about it.
I'm excited, and I'm also excited. I hear there's a project about to come out soon. How far does the dark go? Bears, what can you tell us about this?
It's a vampire love story. It's about a vampire who kidnaps a nurse from a hospital so that she can care for her dying son, who's a human and doesn't want to be turned into a vampire. And so she basically kidnaps her, but there's a little bit of Stockholm syndrome going on, and they fall in love. And I mean, the whole thing is sort of about consent. You know, if you fall in love with a vampire, are you really falling in love? I mean, you know, or do they make that happen? And it's super sexy and fun. It has Robert Picardo from Star Trek Voyager in it, which was really fun to work with one of my heroes. And we have three really great female leads who are all queer playing vampires. So it was really fun to do.
Wow.
Have you seen the movie Thirst? Because it sort of reminds me of that.
I love that film. I hadn't seen it before I worked on this movie, but after I wanted to look at every vampire movie, and I had come across that one, and they just did a new 4K version of it, so I'm excited to get it again and listen to people talk about it. But yeah, that's a great Australian vampire film.
Vampire romance movies are a big deal, and I'm sure you will have as much success as the Twilight series did, Bears, with this.
I mean, as much as it's kind of hokey to say, I love the Twilight series, and a lot of people did. And my making of this film was like, well, what if we did Twilight, but there was more blood and fighting and sex, and it wasn't for kids, but it was for like 20-year-olds.
Okay.
And that was my guidance. So,
well, that target audience has grown up, and they are older now, so those same people can come back to the same well here.
True. Yeah, I want to avoid the comparisons. I'll be happy to say, like, you know, how it connects to Twilight.
Okay.
As long as there's 100% less baseball, I'm good.
Yeah, there's no baseball.
Although you can keep Muse from the soundtrack in there during that scene. I like that song a lot.
I think Muse would cost about 1/5 of my entire budget to license the song from them. That was one of the interesting things about the film is like I worked on all the music and I got to like pick all the artists, and some of them you're paying like, you know, $300 because they're nobody and they're so excited. And then there's other people you reach out and they're like, well, $3,000, you know, for your festival run. And when you get the film sold, we'll talk about what it's going to be then. And that's terrifying to me.
So some music comes at quite a price. Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Well, this podcast won't cost you, the listener, very much. So what is the last movie you saw, Bears?
Well, I mean, obviously I just watched the entire trilogy of Back to the Future 1, 2, and 3. But prior to that, I watched a great movie on the plane when I was flying. It was a Bollywood movie called 3 Idiots from, I think, 2015 but really funny. It's like set in the engineering college there and how they're all competing for success. It feels like it's a very American feeling movie, you know, about comedy in college. And It was so good. I was on the plane and I was annoyed that I couldn't finish it, so I hunted it down on Amazon Prime when I got home, and I just turned it on and finished it.
I hate it when you're in something you want to be in and you have to finish it and you just can't. You have to come back later. It happens to me all the time at this point in my life, so I know how you feel. Chad, how about you? What's the last movie you saw?
My daughter's super excited for the live-action Lilo and Stitch. She doesn't have the same feelings I do about recreating my childhood in live-action form, but I've heard this one's good. That being said, she decided we've never seen Leroy and Stitch, so it was the pseudo sequel to Lilo and Stitch. It's fine. It doesn't have the same magic as the original. The music isn't nearly as good. It's still kind of fun.
If you're not on record, we're about to put you on record. If I'm not mistaken, Lilo and Stitch is your number one animated movie of all time,
It is.
correct?
It is.
So-
I understand.
Wow.
I understand. It's not the best. Beauty and the Beast is better. Most of Studio Ghibli, what they put out, is better, but it is my favorite.
No, I got you. So does that enthusiasm you have not carry over a little bit more? You seem, the audience at home, he's like wincing a little bit, like he's kind of going into this reluctantly.
I don't like people touching stuff I love, and I blame George Lucas. I love Star Wars, and it keeps getting touched, and it keeps making me sad. So these live
He
action,
doesn't have any control of any of those things now at Disney. It's handed off to
yeah,
Kathleen Kennedy. Yeah.
yes, she
Yeah.
somehow makes me sadder than George, which is hard to do. But these live action movies have largely been soulless or pointless. This one seems a little different, so I'll hold out judgment, but there's no way it holds a candle to the original.
Grumpy start, get off his lawn.
I like the Mulan live action film. That was pretty well done with big battle scenes and everything, but it didn't go as far as I wanted it to go with Mulan, essentially as a trans hero. They had a chance to do that and they kind of avoided it. Not surprising, but I still really enjoyed that film.
I've not kept up with these live action remakes, but I think Beauty and the Beast is probably the one that I've enjoyed the most of the remakes.
They didn't really do anything with that one. That was just Mulan was one where I'm like, all right, I can finally see a point. There have been so many Hua Mulan movies made. They did have a really interesting chance and opportunity, and it just kind of fell flat. And it turns out I miss Mushu. Like, Mushu's fun.
All right, and the last movie I saw, kind of in line with what you're getting at there, is Monsters, Inc. So it'd been
Nice.
a very long time since I had seen Monsters, Inc. Probably hadn't seen it since it probably came out, probably. Grant watched it, and it was a lot of fun. So it was better than I remembered, and I moved it up my animated ranks.
Did you not have fond memories of it?
I did, but I will be honest with you, there's parts of the plot that really faded from my memory. Like, I didn't remember the main antagonist and what he was out to do, and so
Randall.
yeah. So I mean, there's just I remember the big notes stride for stride. I remember the heartfelt moments and the good feels. But it's nice to actually, imagine this on a podcast dedicated to it. It's beneficial to go back and watch movies, especially if it's been a while. So
I consider Monsters Inc. to be like a perfect film as far as structure goes. They really do a good job of setting everything up in Act 1, developing it in 2, and paying it off in 3 in a way that Disney doesn't always do. And I just watched that film and I'm just overwhelmed with how well the screenplay like pulls you in and manipulates you, and then gives you those moments of pure joy at the end.
mm-hmm.
Giddy.
All right. Well, speaking of going back and watching movies, we have to go back to the future. Chad, what movie are we going to cover today?
We're going to do 1989's Back to the Future Part 2.
Great Scott! All right. This one's
Is
going.
this what we're doing the whole podcast?
Yeah.
You and Christopher Lloyd?
I've got to count on you to be the Michael J. Fox and go, oh, this is really heavy.
Yeah. All the time. Whatever voice.
I want to be the guy at the end of the film who says, I think he stole his wallet.
Oh, yeah.
You see, he stole the
No, I
wallet.
didn't really think it stole. Very, very confident.
That's one of my favorite like unnecessary scenes in it. But it's just a thing that the director wanted to do, and they did it, and it's fun.
They did it more than once, and then
Yeah. That dude was like a dog with a bone.
yeah. This stars Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, Leah Thompson, and Thomas F. Wilson. Not Crispin Glover. We'll get into that a little bit later. Released in 1989. The budget is $40 million. So nice plump budget here, but it grosses a really nice $118.5 million domestically. It's placed in the box office that year as number 6 in the box office that year. It comes in behind Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and ahead of Ghostbusters 2. The number 1 movie from that year was Batman from 1989. And if you want to check that movie out, go back in your feed a little bit and you'll find it, because we just covered that one recently. We had a fun time with that, didn't you, Chad?
Absolutely. Yeah. Great time.
Back to the Future 2 gets a 7.8 from IMDb. The critics of Rotten Tomatoes, this one really surprised me. They did not take kindly to it. 63%. The audience score is considerably higher at 86%. Is an Academy Award nominee for Best Effects, for Visual Effects, and it is a BAFTA Award winner for Best Special Effects, a BMI Film TV Awards winner for the Alvin Silvestri Award, and the Kids' Choice Award winners, prestigious Nickelodeon blimps, go to Michael J. Fox and Leah Thompson for Favorite Actress and Actor, and Saturn Award nominee, Best Science Fiction, Best Costumes, Best Makeup, Best Special Effects, Young Artist Awards winner also for Best Musical or Fantasy. So it's not winning those Saturn Awards, surprisingly. I think this movie, judging by its reception at the time, is mixed. Now, Bears, I'm guessing you've seen it before. What's your background with Back to the Future 2? Let us know.
I feel like when I was in high school, my best friend was Marty McFly. He was very similar to him. So like I felt like watching the Back to the Future movies was like hanging out with my friend. So I was super excited for 2. And I remember that I liked it even better than the first one because it was so dark. And you don't get that often at that time. So they went there and did what they could to like mess up your perspective from the first movie. But I think why it has the low percentage is, and I think we'll talk about this later, but there's some real problems with the time travel narrative in it. It doesn't work really if you try to break it down, even when Doc Brown explains it. And it works differently than it works in the first movie. So they kind of break their own rules, and critics don't really like that.
Okay. Now, you've been watching this one over the years, I take it. What's it like, given that you've enjoyed this from the 80s, I take it, give or take? And yeah. So what's it like coming back to it today? I mean, do you feel like it's growing with you?
I think this is the first time I've watched it post 2015, which is the date that he goes to in the future in the movie, 2015. So it was really fun to look at all the things and be like, well, why don't we have that? We should have those flying cars by now. We should have those hoverboards and those adjustable jackets that he wears. I'm not surprised they won the costume award for that, because that was really fun. The adjustable, I don't know, like lake jacket that he pushes a button and it surges around him. But yeah, going back, I was really excited to see it again, and so much so that I watched the first one so I could like be ready to really appreciate it. And then afterwards I was like, well, I have to watch the third one because what, I'm here and I might as well just watch it. And I've never done that either. I've never watched this whole trilogy at one time.
That's the way you'd like to do it. I mean, they are so interwoven. Chad, how about you? Had you seen Back to the Future 2 before?
Absolutely, yeah. I was like Bears. I don't think I had seen this movie post like 2010. I can remember the Facebook posts of, hey, it's now this date and we should have these things. I'm like, oh, that's cute. I should get around to watching those movies. And a decade later, I haven't gotten around to watching those movies again. So it was nice revisiting this. I did watch Back to the Future, the original, within the last couple of years. I will say this one, I'm going to guess Coke paid off some reviewers. They are very angry. Pepsi's getting their product placement. We're getting the Pizza Hut.
You're a Pepsi guy, though. I'm guessing you're okay with this, right?
I am a Pepsi guy, Mountain Dew.
I don't think I've ever met a Pepsi guy.
You met one tonight. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Me and CM Punk for our wrestling fans out there. But yeah, there's 100% less incest and incest storylines in this movie. It's a very different movie. I have fun with it. I think it gets more fun the farther away we are from that 2015. So this is a weird like horseshoe theory of this movie, where it's probably not a whole lot of fun in 2015, but or Upside Down Horseshoe, but it's really fun in 1989. And it's really fun 10 years after, and it's going to be funnier as we're just not getting these technological advancements or anything else. You were calling me grumpy. Those critics are grumpy. I had a great time. And Bears is right. This makes less sense than the Avengers and their explanation of time travel. Like, none of this makes sense, but hey, I love Happy Death Day. Love Happy Death Day too. Their time travel doesn't necessarily make a ton of sense either. I'm here for the nonsense.
I'm also here for the nonsense. I like time travel fun and being goofy with it. You can go Austin Powers with your time travel, or you could be telling me this is some sort of hot tub time machine. That,
yes,
I'm okay with all of this. This is a general concept that's going to make me happy. And of course, I had seen Back to the Future too, just like as you guys had. I watched Back to the Future when I was 8 years old and third grade, and I remember renting it, and my mom being like, "Hey, this is a big deal. You should, I think you're more than ready for this. You can watch this." And I watched it, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I obviously, when I couldn't wait to go back to the rental store to get the second one. Second one actually challenged me in my initial watching. It's a darker movie, as you both have pointed out. 8-year-old me didn't totally get on board with some of those things. I mean, this was my least favorite of the trilogy for a long time. And then I love the third one. What
snack did you eat while watching this? Because I'm now learning that Russell has a perfect, identical memory of the movies, settings, age, and snack that accompanied his movie watching from age 4 on. It's
funny that you say that, but I mean, I distinctly remember watching this in my grandfather's basement. So I had the movie rented, but I went over to my grandfather's house, and I actually brought the rented movie with me. So I didn't have a snack this time, but I mean, I definitely remember the chair that I was sitting in. So, I mean.
Did you have a moment when you're watching this about oh, I'm here with my grandpa. I could go up and kill him in my time travel, and then I would never be born. The grandpa paradox.
I love my
unless you're Fry from Futurama, you can be your own grandfather.
Yeah, I was gonna say, no, that thought hadn't occurred to me. I would try to not do that, but I mean, this movie challenged me a little bit, and I remember somebody got the trilogy in college, and you're trading movies around and sharing each other's movies in the dorm halls and stuff like that. I came back and revisited all 3 of them. It went down a lot better for me. I'll be honest with you, I had watched the first one and the third one several times over, and I just kind of skipped over the second one for a while. It was then in college that I started to connect with it and go like, oh, this is really good. And now coming back to it again, I'm appreciating it a whole lot more. And I'm actually going to go as far to say is, Star Wars trilogy is the best trilogy of all the trilogies of movies that have been made for my money. The original trilogy of Star Wars. Is this maybe the next strongest trilogy? It's either that or Lord of the Rings for me.
It's Lord of the Rings, yeah.
What about The Godfather?
The
part
third
3
one
exists in Godfather.
Yeah, the third part 3 is going to sink it. That's the thing. There's always that's the thing. A lot of these are have that problem, where one movie is lagging so much. And I had put this in that category, like Aliens. Aliens 3 is going to pull it way down after the first 2, or like Terminator 3. Terminator 3, they just can't complete that trifecta. I thought this was a lagging movie, but I'm here to tell you, it's not. And as I'm 40, I'm appreciating this movie more and more. And I think what you said, Chad, I like your term, the horseshoe effect. The future is a lot of fun in this movie. And I really like the depiction of the future world that we're in here. So I can't wait to talk about it. So there will be spoilers that lie ahead. This is not a movie you want spoiled. If you haven't seen it, definitely go back and watch it. If you can, watch it like Bears did. Just watch all 3 of them in a row. Get comfortable, get a nice recliner chair in your grandfather's basement and watch all 3 of them in a row. We'll be back after these messages.
Welcome to the All 80s Movies Podcast.
I'm Bill.
And I'm Jason. And this is the podcast where we talk about the blockbusters, the flops, and everything in between from one of the freshest decades for movies, the 1980s. So whether you're a brain, a jock, a valley girl, or a Jedi, we've got some 80s classics for you.
Do these movies stand the test of time? Are we discovering something new? Is there an 80s movie we're finally watching for the first time?
Join us each week as we dive into the cinematic nostalgia that inspired and influenced a generation. From the hits to the cult classics, we'll discuss our earliest memories, favorite scenes, fun facts, and our not-so-favorite movie moments, too.
It's the All 80s Movies Podcast, now available on all major streaming platforms. Please subscribe and happy listening.
All right, we're back. This is your final warning. There will be spoilers that lie ahead. Chad, for those who haven't seen Back to the Future 2 since 1989, do you want to refresh people's memories?
In Back to the Future Part 2, Marty McFly and Doc Brown blast off to the far-flung future of 2015, a world full of flying cars, self-lacing sneakers, dehydrated pizza, and product placement so aggressive it deserves its own credit. They're there to stop Marty's future kids from making very dumb decisions, but naturally things go sideways. Old Biff steals the DeLorean, zips back to 1955, and hands his younger self a sports almanac, because nothing says evil mastermind like cheating at horse races. When Marty and Doc return to 1985, they find Hill Valley has turned into a nightmare ruled by Biff, who is now a sleazy millionaire/Vegas tycoon with a bad dye job. To clean up the mess, they head back to 1955 again to steal the almanac. Marty has to sneak around behind his own past self to steal back the book and set things right, all while dodging bullies, time paradoxes, and the occasional flying manure truck. Ultimately, he succeeds, but Doc Brown's flying DeLorean is struck by the lightning storm, sending him back to 1885. A Western Union letter is delivered ominously to Marty a few seconds later, informing him that the Doc is all right, and Marty runs to past/present-day Doc, who is jubilantly celebrating sending OG Marty back before he faints, seeing future Marty again. To be continued, partner.
All right. Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale did not want to do a sequel. It seemed open-ended at the end of the first movie, but it was a joking finish to the first movie. Studio obviously had a lot of money off of it. They definitely pressured them. They wanted them to do this. Zemeckis claimed that if he knew that they were going to make a sequel, that they would have made for sure that Marty's girlfriend, Jennifer, wasn't in the car at the end of the first film, and that they wanted to concentrate on Marty, so there wasn't much for her to do. And in this way, they had to knock Jennifer out by Doc Brown just leaving her out of the movie early on, kind of painting themselves out of a corner. So Zemeckis would only agree to do the sequel if Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd returned. We all know they returned. This is the 80s. This is not a time when we get a lot of great sequels. A lot of them often have casts not return, where people, you're missing your stars, or there's incomplete cast. It's an afterthought, the director doesn't return, and they don't quite live up to their awesome nature. Now, things are so baked in that you have to have that sequel almost planned ahead of time in your contract, everybody, to get it in. But this is a different time. Bears, had you been there at that time and someone said, we need a sequel to this, what would you have said in the 80s?
Well, I mean, people love the movie so much. It's so hard to say no. It's so hard to say, I don't want to give people more joy. And Zemeckis is a great director who understands the audience. And I think maybe his instinct was, I didn't think about it, so I'm not going to do it. But once he did think about it, he came up with a really great story. And you'll see that when he was doing 2, he was definitely already thinking about 3. There's so many plants in 2 that set up things in 3. And you got to think that maybe if he had wanted to do a sequel in the first movie, there would be more things that he could pay off in later sequels that he didn't. He still was able to do some things like that we revisit scenes that we've already seen. But I just think that there's some classic setups for part 3 that you didn't see in part 1 that, to set up part 2. It's just a different kind of film.
Yeah, and this movie weaves a lot. As you mentioned, they're using clips of the first movie integral to the plot of this movie, and they know this is a big benefit to the third movie. They know there's going to be a third movie when they make the second movie, and it's all planned holistically together, which is why we don't get that Aliens 3 drop-off or that, Terminator 3 drop-off that we just described. They can actually complete that trifecta. Chad, talk about the writing here. Again, Zemeckis didn't even want to do this in the future because he felt like the future's often so disappointing by the time you get there. It doesn't live up to it.
It's correct.
Yeah, and it's mispredicted. But it doesn't, you just mentioned, though, it's not happening for you. You're saying the fact that it was wrong is somewhat enjoyable. Talk more about that nature of, how they were able to get around that, paradox where you can't make the future very good, and if you do, it's only very temporary.
It's childhood. I think we all had the grade school assignment of dream up your future city or dream up what 30, 50 years looked like to you. And so they're basically painting our childhood class assignments in the 80s. Okay, 30 years from now, where will we be as a society? What will we work together? 40 grand to upgrade your car to make it flying? Sweet. Like, sign me up. It's not even that they built flying cars, they're building upgrades to existing cars, which is even more fun. Yeah, you have.
It sounds like inflation is really bad, though. 40 million to clean up your car. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a big price tag.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's. There's a lot of things that they mention that it's like 300 some dollars for a very small meal or something like that. There were some price tags that stood out to me. The rehydrated pizzas look disgusting. That didn't really help Pizza Hut at all.
Oh, you don't like the fact that you put pizza on a bagel into your hydrator and it comes out as a warm, delicious, full-size, large pizza?
No, not on the hydrator, and I don't trust that. Like, I've had hot pockets and that molten lava straight out of the oven. Like, that is burn on the roof of your mouth. But there's just a joy, I think, of dreaming of society, and it's not. I don't think it's the dystopian hellscape that we get out of other futuristic movies. This is a bright, even though they're dumb street gangs, they have fun jokes of, yeah, court cases are really quick now that we outlawed lawyers. That's fun. Just little quips like that. Justice is really smooth because we got rid of the thing that clogs up justice courts. Apologies to all of our attorney listeners out there. I'm sure you're the good ones. But yeah, for me, it's just youthful dreaming.
Yeah, Bears, I've noticed a trend. You've picked these futuristic movies, whether it be Forbidden Planet or whether it be, I think it was Demolition Man, that have these futuristic renderings.
It's my favorite movie of all time, Demolition
Yeah.
Man. Yeah. 1999 in that movie for your future year.
And even when you covered Moonraker with us, to some degree, there's a futuristic quality, even though it was technically probably the present, but it felt like it was the future with the Moonraker lasers everywhere. Tell us about this version of the future. I'm noticing you don't tend to gravitate with your movie selections towards the Blade Runner, as Chad mentioned, that Elysium, this like real heavy, heavy future. You like this kind of fun, quirky, like playful view of the future, don't you?
I do. It has everything to do with your actors. And when you have Marty McFly, when you have everybody in this film, they're just so amusing. You don't want it to be dark because you want to see your favorite people do your favorite things and make you laugh. You have such a great antagonist in this film with Biff. It's the one time in all three movies where the Biff character actually is kind of powerful and successful. Even though he's a bad person, he's a much stronger antagonist in this film than any of the other films that has a Tannen relative in it that wants to beat up on the McFly family. So yeah, I think it's especially since it was 2015. I think they picked 30 years in the future, knowing full well that when they got there, it wasn't going to be that, and that was going to be fun. That's going to add to the fun of the movie that they didn't get it right.
I think there were a lot of. We keep making fun of the things that they didn't get right. I think there are a lot of things that they did get right. Like they had like cameras and unmanned flying drones, newsfeed gathering, screens everywhere, TV sets mounted on walls, and smartphone technology was kind of represented like with these like glasses and stuff, like where people were like so plugged in, and it changes the way they interact with each other. They had video chat systems like to be able to like Skype through his living room and things like that. This is a big leap forward. And I mean, I think some of us might actually not be giving this movie credit. So, I mean, there's animated billboards that are moving, wearable technology and tablet computers and scanners. I mean, payment of personal devices are all depicted. We like to look at the jackets that blow dry themselves, or maybe the hoverboard that I remember they put a hoverboard out, and I remember thinking they finally invented it. Terrific. And then I found out it was nothing but a Segway without like the handlebars, and it had wheels, and I'm like, this name is not. You can't call that a hoverboard. That's just that's another thing. You don't get to claim that yet. So, but
well, why haven't we gotten there? 2015, like I think the glasses that they were using, that was similar to, I think around that time we had those Google glasses. It didn't catch on. People didn't like it, but it did exist. So they're not wrong, but they don't have any phones, which is really interesting. Obviously phones are boring in movies. Nobody likes to watch somebody make a phone call. So directors are always always deserve the right to figure out a way to not have phones because it ruins plot. But it is interesting. The one thing that I connect most to the future is that everybody has cell phones, and that's not what we see. So that's like the main thing they got wrong. And I kind of wish that they were right. I kind of wish that was what had happened.
Well, I mean, they kind of got everybody plugged into this media. It's coming from a different device, but that whole constant streaming media thing, they kind of did get right. I like that Chad mentioned the nostalgia component. They turned 50s diners into an 80s diner, like with an arcade machine in it. They have a nostalgia shop of things that were contemporary of the time of the movie, like an Apple Macintosh, like computer, like, the VHS tapes were in there. Roger Rabbit was like there was a plush doll in the shop there, which is a fun Zemeckis, because he made Roger Rabbit kind of callback. Pac-Man. They had all these things that were in there from the past as if they were relics like we would see from the 50s or the 40s or whatever. The future is not really the whole movie, but that part of this movie looms big on it. And to me, like you said, Bears, like it's so much fun. I think these are the things that your mind goes to first. I mean, I know they go back in time to the 50s, but the first movie obviously cemented it's a great movie. It kind of owns the 50s. So this movie, in my memory, will always lean heavy on the first part of this movie when they're in the future.
Yeah, the interesting thing about this movie in comparison to the other movies is there's more timelines in this movie than any of the other ones. There's more like attempts to go back and do things and creating alternate timelines, branches and stuff like that. All the other movies, they have maybe one or maybe two different paradoxical branching timelines. This movie has like 5. Every time they make a move, they go back and change something, which is really funny because Christopher Lloyd is so big in the movie about saying we can't fix anything, we can't change anything. He's so bad about it that they change everything all the time.
He's a big hypocrite though, because he's walking around with the whole suitcase full of dated money from different eras, and he wouldn't let Marty have that almanac and win a few bets along the way. But he's walking around with a whole suitcase full of money, which that's not explained.
No.
Yeah, it's surprising. I'd forgotten that moment. Yeah. Marty really is the villain in this film a little bit, because if he hadn't bought that almanac, nothing would have happened. But it would have been better if he had actually kept the almanac than like let go of it.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure he would have done something a little bit more special with the money rather than open a sleazy casino.
Right. Like he might have had a nicer home, but I don't think he'd be, I don't think the whole city would be a wasteland of like chemical plants and fires and like broken down cars in the street that looks like a post riot has just gone through there. Chad, we mentioned this movie goes dark. This movie goes super dark. When Biff takes over the almanac and becomes one of the wealthiest men in the world just by ruling the betting world with his almanac that runs for 50 years. I think this is the part that I could be wrong, but I think this is the part where people have a hard time getting on board with. This is darker than the first movie. How's this going down?
It is and it isn't. I mean, there's a sexual assault in the first movie. We see it in the background of this one, and it's almost played off as like laughs, and 50s is a different time period. But I think this movie is a little more difficult for us now because we're living part of it. Like Tom Wilson has said, he based his character off of Donald Trump. And whatever your opinions are of Donald Trump, like we're seeing a lot of this personality and this type being played out. And so to see it on screen, if you're not a fan, like that's not going to be an enjoyable time for you. It's frustrating seeing that personality. And you see sweet Leah Thompson, like her character is turned into just, she's forced to get implants, and she's just like drunk out of her mind, just shuffling through, and it's sad seeing that reality. And you think of, okay, you've made billions of dollars and you didn't enrich anything but yourself. Why didn't you invest in making really cool stuff and fixing different things? You've just made this biker gang outside of your crappy club. I don't understand. So yeah, there's some of that dark element of we're living it. Billionaires aren't benevolent. Many a time, billionaires are out for billionaires. That's the hard lesson we have to take away.
This world reminded me a lot of It's a Wonderful Life. If one person changes something or if one person is not there, you can think of how terrible Potter's Town was in It's a Wonderful Life. This movie takes that up and dials it up to 10, or to 11, if you will. Talk about how this post-apocalyptic world, which contrasts with the fun, future that we just talked about, that's a big shadow of this movie. It's the darkest this series will go. I mean, we even see Leah Thompson's character, Marty's mom, get like backhanded, slapped down on the floor at one point, which I remember thinking, I was like, whoa! Like, even as a kid, I was like, oh, this isn't. I like Marty's mom. I don't like what's happening here, and his dad's dead, and I really liked Crispin Glover, and obviously he's been written out of the movie for purposes because there's contractual stuff where he was difficult to get along with, and they wrote him out of the movie, and it was actually smart how they did it. Really smart. But this dark world, if you will, it took me time to grow onto, and I did look at it like a Potter's world. Like, I had to get enough distance where saying, like, this isn't actually what's happening. We have to prevent this from happening. So obviously you have to make it really bad, don't you?
Well, there's a little something going on, I think, with the theme that we're really in 1985. We're really reflecting the current situation in America with Reaganomics and the idea of wealth for wealth's sake, and splitting the middle class and the upper class and pushing them to the sides. Just like in the first movie, there's the argument about the greatest generation in 1950s and how that was make America great again, the best time of America, and was it really? I think that Zemeckis is really smart. He's not going to just let a movie be set in a time period. He's going to look at the time period and make a comment about it. And you may not have caught it, when you were 8, but I remember last night watching it and going like, oh, this is really interesting that how much we're talking about economics here and the difference between the two worlds. I mean, it's more of an economics class than it is a time travel class. The movie, it's kind of interesting that way.
Yeah. So I think it's really amazing that Michael J. Fox found out. He didn't know there was going to be a sequel until he watched the VHS version, To Be Continued. Apparently, when this was originally aired in theaters, it was not included on there. And you mentioned that the actors were there, and I kind of hinted at this before. The principal actors all committed to do the sequels before the scripts were written. However, there was a stumbling block with the negotiations when Crispin Glover, who played George McFly, Marty's dad, stated that he was offended by the monetary amount that was less than half of what Leah Thompson and Tom Wilson were being paid in return. Glover believed that this was because Bob Gale was taking exception to the disapproval of the original ending of the film, where the McFlys viewed money as material possessions as rewards, and he fought and gave them a hard time. During sequel negotiations, his agents pushed the producers that Glover wanted a fair compensation, on par with everybody else. And Bob Gale, the writer, refused to give it into either of those requests and instead offered an even lower amount, saying like, okay, well, that was my offer before. It's less now. And so Bob Gale's a shrewd negotiator. He haggles like Muffin at a garage sale in Bluey, if you've seen this episode. But after a lower offer, Jerry Weissman was cast as George McFly. I did not know this. They have so many facial prosthetics on him. His voice actually sounds pretty good. And to have not gotten them by killing him, by hanging him upside down, wearing old face, shooting the back of his head in the 50s version, and using clips of the old limited moments of Glover's likeness from the first movie, they kind of got away with it. They actually got away. I was fooled. I did not know that until I was studying for this movie.
I knew he didn't come back. That was kind of a famous story of him being difficult to work with, and I knew the lawsuit. I didn't know that it was dropped. I did read that Russell went bananas on our prep, which is amazing, and I can see the energy behind it of Russell getting excited, and I have like 16 pages on my notes just from Russell, but Yeah, I think it's interesting that the total cost for Crispin Glover to abuse his likeness was like $780 some thousand as just an outside the court settlement. So they got off pretty easy, I'd say.
Yeah, and furthermore, I think Glover got more than his offer was to begin with. But I mean, so I guess he kind of got the last laugh to some degree. Obviously, I think you'd love to be in a movie that's this great.
Well, to be clear though, that's not cool. Like, just recast him instead of using his likeness. I mean, we recast Jennifer and nobody noticed. Elisabeth Shue's just walking around and
Yeah,
nobody
but that
noticed.
character does nothing in the movie at
Yeah,
all. I mean, like, talk about a useless character.
Wait a minute though,
absolutely.
Jennifer's character is different. She couldn't come back. Her mom had cancer. She left acting. She's not in movies until like 2008 or 2011.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying you recast one character. Why not recast George McFly if Crispin Glover wants equal pay or whatever? He
Mhm.
wants a bigger salary. Recast. Okay, if you're not going to accept it, just recast. Don't use his image. Don't do that.
Elisabeth Shue's not in this movie a whole lot. Obviously,
No.
when she walks into Marty's future home with her and she sees her family ahead of time, that's a lot of fun. I actually felt like they could have showed her reaction to that, all that was happening, a little bit more. But again, I think they're just trying to, like you said, shielding the fact that we switched out our actors and such. Again, I could be wrong, but so Marty-centric, they kind of get away with that too. I mean, again, the circumstances are very different for why Elisabeth Shue had to step in.
Oh, it's only because they reshot the ending of the first one and played it at the beginning of this one, and then there becomes this Mandela effect of, oh yeah, that's what she looked like. No, it's not.
Mm-hmm. Well, they actually considered Kidman. They wanted her as the actress to come in and
That's
replace
such a
Claudia
terrible
Wells.
pick. That's such a terrible pick.
You're not liking it. You're not liking it.
I'm not.
I mean, it kind of wouldn't matter though, because the character really does nothing. I mean, it's sort of like it's a really poorly written character. At the end of the first movie, he's like, "You have to come to this affects you too. You have to come to the future," but not really.
No.
I mean, obviously, they didn't need her. They didn't want her. They found a way to get rid of her pretty quickly.
Yeah. Oh, there's so much fourth wall breaking with regard to that, and then just, hey, things will happen around her, and she'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, I think the other fun, there's not a lot of this is not a deep, big, long list of cast here, but Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers appears in here as the, I guess, corporate bully who talks Marty into unethical purchases and stuff with his own card, and obviously resulting in him being fired seconds later. But Flea,
Harshly, like 3 faxes to different lines.
yeah, yeah. Flea's a good villain. He's scary in this. Needles is scary.
He's scarier than Biff, that's for sure. He has a stronger presence, and he's the one who, at the end of the film, he threatens Marty and calls him a chicken. So that's the whole reason why Marty's life turns, because Needles, eggs him
I think
on.
Tom Wilson is a meathead in the first movie, and I'm not saying it's a unforgiving role. He is asked to do way more in this movie, and I think he actually is he gets to show off what he can do a lot more. He's Griff, and he's this old version of Biff, and he's Biff again. And actually, I would say that he's playing these different incarnations of himself even better than like Michael J. Fox is. Like some of his portrayals with what he did with future Marty, kid Marty, and his son, and then his daughter is also
his daughter Marlene.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like that was funny to dress him up as her, but I don't think they capitalized on what he did or how he portrayed the role. Like I was like, it's such a good thing to do, but they just didn't capitalize on mining that necessarily. Tom Wilson, on the other hand, I thought his different incarnations as the old version of him was great. I love the scene where he's talking to himself in the car.
He really plays 4 characters because he's got that billionaire version
right.
of Biff as well. So yeah, I agree. I think he did it the best. I don't blame Leah Thompson for her older version of herself. I blame Robert Zemeckis, like why he told her do this old bitty accent for her character she walks in. Hi everybody, how are you doing? Like that voice. I don't understand that direction. Same with Martin. You can make him a wimp without using the voice. that Michael J. Fox used. So yeah, I did like Tom Wilson's range here.
Yeah, this is definitely Tom Wilson's best film of the three.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
I think
Oh yeah.
he's really charming in this, and getting to yell at himself is kind of fun. You know, when he goes back and corrects him about no, it's not a screen door on a battleship. You know.
Well, in the first, this is the first film appearance from Elijah Wood. I don't know if you caught them here. It's one of the two boys in the video game when Marty's in the 80s cafe showing them how to play Duck Hunt or whatever the generic version of Duck Hunt is. And they go, that's a baby's game. You have to touch it with your hands?
Which is a really funny setup, actually, for the third movie when Marty gets a Colt 45 and learns to shoot. And the guy giving him the Colt says, it's so easy. It's like a baby could do it. And so there's a nice payoff of that. And also when he's shooting at people, they look exactly like the Serapis, look like what the screen was in the Phantom Gunslinger, I think it was, video game. But Elijah Wood, he's pretty not memorable in this. So I don't think he would claim this as his discovery.
Well, I would trust him to carry a ring with the whole entire fate of mankind, across a long journey to throw it into a volcano. I see it. I see it right here. I get it. I think it was interesting, though, what you're talking about, the Easter eggs of what's to come. And I'm glad you got to watch all three. Like, there's a Clint Eastwood movie that Biff's watching in the hot tub, like it's a Western. Obviously, Clint Eastwood being referred to in the next movie of I'm Clint Eastwood as a cowboy name. And
yeah, Marty takes that name as his
He makes that reference of bulletproof vest so smart as a throwback to the first movie. Love that.
Yes, there's a lot of this. Because they know they're going to make a third movie, they add this richness that you don't have to put it in there, but upon rewatch and appreciating these things together, as much as they're weaving into the first movie they did and not stepping on the toes of the first movie they did, they're setting up the next movie. And I actually got to give Zemeckis, as a director, an enormous amount of credit for doing that. As I go back and watch this, they didn't have to do all that. It's just really rich detailing that they're putting into there.
Agreed.
They took the time. They took the time to set up the different years and really get a sense of the feeling. And I don't think that you always get that. Especially you have movies now are so focused on having big action scene after big action scene after big action scene. You don't get a scene like Marty walking into the saloon in the third movie and trying to get something to drink, and he asks for an ice water, and they laugh at him, and then he asks for milk and. Yeah, so that there's a payoff because he did the same thing in the first movie and the second movie. So, that's really fun. It's a movie that gives back if you are paying attention.
Yeah, there's another level of I call this like a really rich rewatch quality, like just little details. Like I said, that nostalgia shop. If you hit pause, I don't have time to go into all the stuff that's in there, but there's just all this wonderful stuff that's in there, like 4 flavors of Pepsi in the 80s diner and
Which
stuff.
They did wind up doing a Pepsi Max later. That was awesome.
I know, that's what I mean. Some of this stuff is just, kind of funny. I mean, people get so fixated, where are my flying cars? And yes, to be clear, flying cars would be very cool, but I think the depiction they had was outstanding of that. And we talked about Zemeckis. He actually was not involved initially on this one. Bob Gale wrote the whole first draft of the screenplay on his own. Zemeckis was involved for 3 years to make Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which we covered last year on the podcast. That's a great movie too, by the way. I think that one's not. I think maybe people forget how important or how unique or original that movie is. You never get to make that movie now, just even from licensing all that stuff together. And so Zemeckis is on fire at this part of his career here. I think he kind of loses it later because he goes so heavy into technology, like how the movies are made with animated techniques and things like that come later in his career.
You took it like for Polar Express.
Yeah. So he did Polar Express. Beowulf was another all CGI animated thing, and Christmas Carol was another one that was like full out CGI animated. I think there was some of this. He did Castaway, and then after that, I think he kind of maybe I'm not gonna say loses his touch, but I mean, but he's on fire. Look at this. He does Romancing the Stone, Back to the Future, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Back to the Future Parts 2 and 3, Death Becomes Her, which we covered on episode 32. That movie is hilarious. And then Forrest Gump. I mean, that is a 10-year run. I mean, that's as good as like Steven Spielberg pretty much for that run. I don't think he sustains it because he kind of fumbles it a little bit with Contact and What Lies Beneath. But I mean,
Ugh, I love Contact.
you
I
like
like
Contact?
What Lies Beneath. So
Have you covered Contact? Maybe that should be our next film when I come
I've
back.
not. I watched Contact when I was 13 in the theater, and 13-year-old Russell was not ready to appreciate that movie, and I haven't had it in. I have not had it in me to sit down through that again because I left that movie and went like, wow, that was not what I signed up for. So, I will admit, Bears, I need a rewatch on that one. I wasn't sophisticated enough to take that all in.
That's not a movie for young people, really.
It's not. No, I came out of that feeling like if you've ever seen South Park, Mr. Garrison makes a Contact reference at one point of Contact. There's a total spoiler in it, and he complains about the movie Contact. But that was my 13-year-old take on that movie as well. So, but Zemeckis is absolutely on fire, and he took 11 months for this movie and Back to the Future 3 to be filmed back to back. Again, we've learned this like with Lord of the Rings, but I guess he did it here first. Making your sequels together, it pays huge dividend. I think it keeps the actors engaged and everybody kind of in that world. And what a wonderful thing to have made this all together. I'm sad that this movie's reception may have taken some of the success of the third movie off or whatever. I'm sitting here going like, I guess this movie, I certainly won't call it a cult classic. It made tons of money, number 6 movie in the box office. But Bears, what is it that you feel like made this movie grow over time? Because I mean, is it just the fact that it's associated to the first movie and that in itself has worked, or do you feel like this movie had something, that a quality to it that wasn't yet appreciated by the critics of the times, at least?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of cultural joking in this movie with all the product placement and stuff like that. Like, they made a bunch of money from that, and people were kind of mad about it. The critics were mad about it, but it's like, you know what? It's hard to make a movie, and if you can find a fun way, it's not like Pepsi's going out of business. They probably will be around in 2015. Everybody knows what Pepsi looks like. Everybody knows what a pizza looks like, Pizza Hut, So there's a joy in showing people the future of something they know. And this is not a dystopian world where the world is so different from the world of 1995 where people were actually living. It was something that they could imagine getting to. Yes, it's not a great place, but it reads realistic. And it's something that people could get behind in terms of like seeing it, thinking about it, and struggling with the questions of, is that really what we want our future to be? Or do we want to go back and fix the past so that the future can still be written?
Mm-hmm.
Which is the theme of the whole series, the future.
Now, one initial idea for the sequel, the first 2 acts are kind of the same, but the third act had Biff giving the younger self the almanac in the 60s, not the 55 time when we go back and start weaving into each other. And they wanted to go to like the hippie time, where Marty's parents were at a different phase of their life and in a very different phase of history. Zemeckis decided it was too similar to the first film, and they chose to go back and weave into the 55 time slot. I think this is a really important decision in the writing. I think that's what's so brilliant about this movie, that they do weave, note for note, all that's happening based on the first movie. It's a classic. And like you mentioned, Chad, stuff's happening in the background that's not necessarily the primary plot of this movie. But, you can see over Marty's shoulder, like, I can't find Biff, and like he's about to get punched out by Crispin Glover in the car with the, like, no, Biff, you get your darn hands off her. Like, like there's these classic moments, and you get to relive them again from different camera angles. They shot some of this stuff again. This movie's not as magical if you make it in the 60s, is it?
I gotta be honest, I'm intrigued. I want to see hippie Lorraine and hippie George and those styles because they just did such a fantastic job of recreating the 50s. I wasn't there, but I felt like I was there. I'm intrigued. I agree with the point that you're making of it's interesting to us fans of the movie because we know everything and we're like, you have that fun moment of just look over your shoulder. Like, he's right there. It's that scene, you should know. And he's like, oh yeah, we get a different version of the Chuck Berry scene with the overhead shots. And then all of a sudden Marty steps off stage and there are guys with sandbags on their head. And he's like, where'd this come from? So those are fun twists. I think they could have made it work.
Okay, so you're amenable to that. Bears, do you like following the mean principle around that in the night of the dance, or seeing other aspects, as Chad mentioned.
I think that's the best thing about the film, because the first thing is so memorable. The under the Enchanted Sea or Under the Sea dance is so memorable from the first movie. To go back and see it in a different way and kind of rewatch it, but watch it from a different angle and watch it from over the shoulder. I mean, that's what is so fun about the film. I think if they had gone to the 60s, I mean, yeah, it would have been a different location. It would have been more work, but it wouldn't really be connected to the first film. And what makes this so great is, like, you have to have seen the first film in order to really enjoy this film at all, or else it doesn't make much sense. And there's not a whole lot of sequels like that. A lot of sequels are written so you could just walk in and not really know what happened to the first one. But if you don't know Back to the Future 1, this movie is not only like confusing, but it's also not very funny, because all the jokes are revisiting, the first movie and the kind of time paradox stuff they're dealing with.
It's true. Like, if old Biff tells young Biff, it's like, make like a tree and go. The old Biff has since learned and been corrected by other people, slaps him in the back of the head. It's leave. It's like, do you have any idea how stupid you sound when you say that? And I just love him talking to his younger self. I think that's a funny idea too. I mean, how much would you like to talk to your younger, less wise version of yourself, and how frustrated with your younger self would you be? That's a funny thing, and they get to work that Tom Wilkinson's playing both of those versions of.
But that also breaks the rule. Like, Doc explicitly says, hey, you'll pass out or you'll create this massive paradox either way. And none of that happens. He's like, yeah, you're in my car, get out. And he calls him a butthead, and then we drive on.
I'm not a physicist, but I fail to see how that's a cataclysmic event, that if you just see somebody who looks like a doppelganger of yourself, why is that going to unpack the whole existence?
There's a dude in my own church who people can't tell. They think we're either related or the same person. His own daughter thinks I am her father from time to time. So yeah, it's not out of the question.
Chad, you're one of my best friends, Chad, but I am not proud to say, when I first met you, there was another kid in our junior high, same height, same brown haircut. You and Andrew Hedgebeth look a lot alike. Yeah. And I don't know, I misnamed both of you in the 7th grade on more than one occasion, and I don't know how many times I did it to you or to Andrew, and I'm sorry to you both, but I definitely would say, hey, Chen. He's like, I'm Andrew. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. I mean, I am the poster child for average white guy, so yeah. I understand.
I mean, it's really nice that you're coming clean now and apologizing. I'm very proud of you. This has probably been weighing on you for a while, so it's nice that you're finally taking the time to set the record straight.
It has. I have the uniform in my closet. Average white guy.
Yeah, I don't know where he is right now, but I mean, he might still bear strong resemblance to you. So I mean, it could happen.
I mean, I'm sure he's easy to look up. He's probably on Facebook or TikTok. I mean, it's a pretty specific name. It's not like Johnny Smith. And you've got pages now for like schools that people went to in elementary school. I'm on my elementary school Facebook page. I didn't even remember what my elementary school was, and they asked me to like join it. So it's like I've seen these people since like 4th grade.
Zemeckis considers this to be one of his favorite and strangest films. He likes it. He was at odds with how this movie was pitched. He really wanted this to be like, we're building up to 3, like we're like, this is all connected. He wanted to embrace that and to go bigger and to, build the snowball and like coming down an avalanche. The studio did not do that. They just said it's going to be an independent release. Again, you can't complain too much because it financially performed pretty well. He just felt like depicting his timing, the filming it, Back to the Future 2 at the same time, like this was all one big thing, and to unpack that disappointed him. Again, this still seems like it's water under the bridge, because like you said, you watched them all 3 in a row. They seem seamless, don't they?
Yeah, it's a perfectly smooth watch to go from 1 to 2 to 3. And at the start of 2 and the start of 3, they always play like the start of the last movie. So, if you weren't there, you get a little refresher, but yeah, you can watch them straight through. They're each about an hour and 50 minutes. And that's a short time now for movies, it feels like. So we watched them all back to back. My wife and I spent 6 hours, and it was fun. It definitely was an experience to watch them all together and see them grow. And I really think there's such a friendship between Marty McFly and Doc Brown that just really nice to see. I mean, we were talking about like Roman times and the earlier about what people were like back then. I mean, this very much feels like that idea of the older man with the younger apprentice who's like taking him under his wing, and it's great for Marty because he doesn't have a whole lot of family support. But it's interesting if you look at 3, or look at 2 with Biff. My wife pointed out that we don't see Biff's relatives at all. He's got a nagging grandmother. We don't know anything about his parents, and he seems really unhappy. And that's one of the reasons why I think meeting old Biff like was a good moment for him, because he felt like he had a relative that like maybe cared about him. But I think you see part of why Biff is who he is in this movie, because he doesn't have a support system like Marty did, or George did, or Lorraine did.
Yeah, I also want to point out that Michael J. Fox did some insane, like, double duty. He's doing Family Ties. He's not getting much sleep. There's like a period of time where this is overlapping, going gung-ho. And these movies are always aggressive with their schedule anyway, but he was going hard in there. I want to point out a name that you might recognize. Dean Cundley, Chad, is from the John Carpenter cinematography. This guy shot The Fog, Halloween 2, The Thing, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, which I know you have a major soft spot for, Big Trouble in Little China. So he's like John Carpenter's go-to cinematographer before he also becomes like Zemeckis' like go-to cinematographer. Again, he did Romancing the Stone with him, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Back to the Future, all 3 parts, and Death Becomes Her. And he even does Hook in Jurassic Park with Steven Spielberg later. Dean Cundley, awesome filmography when you really break it down. This movie is very exciting, and it takes the special effects, and it takes these different realms and different eras, and they all make it seem very alive. It's all aged really well, hasn't it?
For the most part, the only thing that really stuck out to me, other than like the hoverboards are unsteady because they're on cables and wires, but I get over that really, really quickly. The only thing to me is the initial shot of the DeLorean taking off from 1985. That looked off now. And there's just something about the effect where you can tell between models and whatever they're doing in the background. It didn't quite look right, but we've had far, far worse examples of 80s movies not holding up. Man, what was the movie where the spaceship comes back for the little kid that we covered?
Flight of the Navigator.
Flight of the Navigator.
Flight of the Navigator. I love that movie.
That does not hold up as far as special effects.
Oh, I love the special effects of that. The way they make the ship, I think, is just really original and different.
It has an 80s charm.
I find that odd that you're picking on that one, because there are moments where them things didn't work from this era, but I can certainly think of worse.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just my go-to, because it had sort of the like Secret of Alex Mack 90s style goo as well. But everything else really held up. The AI, we're just now getting to the point of where we could recreate Michael Jackson as a waiter in a restaurant and he would sound authentic and talk to you. We've seen those holograms where he's performing a concert. That's kind of scary. It is weird that in 2015 their Michael Jackson speaks like a robot, or you have the weird, was that supposed to be the Ayatollah and Reagan?
Well, yeah, it is. They were doing a Max Headroom reference, so they were taking Michael Jackson and Ronald Reagan and they were mixing it with Max Headroom in the little screens and like the jumping and flickering. So I think it wasn't intentional to make it sound like too much like Michael Jackson. It was supposed to be sort of this cute character thing that references something that was just starting to happen in the 80s.
Huh, I didn't get that reference. That's cool.
Yeah, definitely Max Headroom.
I think Zemeckis said, for me, filming those future scenes of the movie were the least enjoyable of the whole trilogy. He doesn't like films that try and create the future. He said that the ones that were done by like Kubrick that predicted like the PC and like 2001: A Space Odyssey or Clockwork Orange. So rather than trying to make a scientifically sound prediction, they were going to be wrong anyway. They said, let's make it funny. I think that right there, understanding that and knowing that was a big part of what made this successful.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got away with a lot if you made people laugh. I think that's always the right angle to take.
Oh, the coal lander on Biff's head. Perfect.
At the end of the movie, when Marty's attempting to steal the almanac back from Biff, I thought that tunnel scene was really awesome. You just mentioned some hoverboard stuff that didn't please you with the physics of it, but I was actually having a bit of a, wow, this looks pretty good for 1989. Like the way he's moving and stuff. And yeah, I guess you're right. I guess he is on wires, but I mean, it's really working for me. Like maybe it's just because I'm in the scene. The score is outstanding. It's all coming together. I guess maybe I'm forgiving on a lot of it.
Honestly, I think when I was a kid, I thought the hoverboard was real.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's just, especially when we first see the hoverboard, for whatever reason, I think I would prefer the hoverboard to just have a static hover, and he shakes and wobbles. And so for me, it's like, oh yeah, of course it's on wires. Bear, I'm still in that kid mode that Bear's just mentioned of, this is a real thing. Like they've somehow come up with micro propulsion underneath of it.
I want one of those.
I do, yes.
Well, they had a big budget, so I just assumed it was real.
Absolutely. It should be. We have way too many billionaires and way too few hoverboards. Like, somebody do this.
It does remind me of Jerry Seinfeld has this bit about seedless watermelon. He goes, one day there was a scientist who said, I'm going to dedicate my life to melons. People are dying of cancer. There's gasoline-powered cars that are polluting the earth, but that has got to stop. So if only the seedless watermelon scientist had put his life's work into making the hoverboard, we would have one, Chad. But you have seedless watermelon.
Yeah, we wouldn't have seedless watermelon, and I think we probably are more likely to have seedless watermelon than a hoverboard. Like, that's something that would be more useful to us.
Doc, in the beginning of the film, looks really weird and pale, and they've olded him up, and I didn't love some of the old makeup is maybe the part of the movie that we are really good at making young actors look old now. Really good at it. And so going back to this era where we're not so good at it kind of hits you. And Doc looks like ill in the first scenes, but then he pulls off his own skin. And he said he had like a reincarnation kind of rejuvenation spa so they could keep him they could keep him young for the next two movies without making him up to look older. Smart move to get out of that. It turned what wasn't necessarily the best makeup job, and they made it into a joke. Again, another one of those times where knowing what kind of movie you're in and using it to your advantage. I thought that was so smart.
Yeah, it makes him 40 years younger, and then he looks the same.
Going back to the 50s again, is there anything that you didn't get from the first time, Bears, that you really enjoyed this time? Or is it just you're always happy to take a walk back in Marty McFly's hometown in 1955? Is there anything new that you didn't get out of it this time?
Well, I think one of the things that you really get to enjoy is watching Biff hunt down Calvin Klein, which is Marty's name in the 50s from the first movie, because he was very angry at him in the first movie, and there's no kind of payoff of that. So now we're seeing why he didn't get to him and what was happening the whole time, and we get more time with the headmaster / principal, who is really fun and comes back in every timeline he's there. And so I think you get to experience the school again in another way. You get to experience it from the bad boy angle as opposed to like the good boy in the front at the dance.
Mm-hmm.
That principal was cool. I like how he's talking to Biff about the liquor, and then he goes in and pours a little whiskey or scotch or whatever it is into his drink.
Yeah.
The tense scenes and the smashing of the hands and everything. That's a fun time in his office.
I also really like the story of director Zemeckis wanted the high school dance scene again, so they had to have the same costumes from before, so the production nearly was delayed. They didn't have Leah Thompson's dress, couldn't be found, they couldn't come up with it. She saved the day. Leah Thompson found out that she had the original dress herself, and she drove back to her house to get it and save the day.
She stole it.
Yeah,
she stole it in the first movie. Actors do that all the time. Oh, I forgot.
Yeah.
I went home with it. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, she may have saved the movie, but only because she originally selfishly took it. I'm curious with that dance sequence. How many of the people, how many of the extras are the same people? Did they kind of hunt down all the people in the background, or was it just close? Because they got the band back, which was great.
That's a good question. That would be really interesting, having two screens up side by side and say, are these the same people, or are they doing a Russell Guest in 7th grade, or are we casting average white guys to just fill in these parts that you can't tell apart? Brad, Chad, and otherwise.
Yeah.
Well, something else Leah Thompson then held on to after the fact is she said that she still has the prosthetic breast, the jumbo boobs that she has in this movie. So
I didn't really catch until I read that those were prosthetics. I figured they just did some push-up or contouring or something else.
it's a pretty low-cut dress. I think they had to.
Fair.
I don't know. She looked good though, just to be offensive.
I mean, Michael J. Fox is staring at his mom, going, "Were you always so big?" Which is a weird thing to say to your mom at any point in time.
Well,
here's the question though: had Marty McFly seen Gremlins?
It would have existed by now,
right? Because that's 1989, right? So, although I guess it's all 1985. Even
Gremlins was 84.
We're never in 1989. We're always in 1985.
Gremlins was 84.
Oh, okay then.
So yeah, this sequel reminds me a lot of Gremlins too. Like Joe Dante didn't really want to make a sequel to Gremlins, and he's like, screw it. If you give me money and full creative control, I'm just going to make the most bat crap crazy sequel of all time. And I love him for that. It's such a different movie. And this is the same thing. I mean, less creative control, but it's a very different film than the first one.
Mm-hmm. Going back to kind of how this looked, I mean, Zemeckis said that very few CGI effects were needed in this movie. I think one of the reasons why the wardrobe and stuff looks so good is they paid attention, they got stuff right, they matched the first movie impeccably well, which we all love the first movie, so they have to fall absolutely in line with it. They paid a good attention to it. It's kind of like how Weird Al, part of the magic of his music videos is that he looks so much like what he is parodying. And they are therefore a few degrees tilted and funny are really powerful.
Yeah, he's reaching that uncanny valley a little bit, which is kind of amazing. He's always done that. He's just got kind of the face and the hair that can be anything.
Yeah. I think he said, someone asked him why he shaved his mustache at one point. He said, it's all part of my lifelong quest to look more like Alanis Morissette. So, but shot where Biff and Griff were in the 80s cafe, like side by side. Again, they were funny, as I mentioned earlier, but they also look really good. You can tell which one's the old one, the young one. They have taken those little details, all those writing details that Bob Gale put in there, Zemeckis, and is making sure that it all carries into the makeup and the wardrobe. And again, it's very rich for that craft. Let's talk about the music. There's no Huey Lewis in the news this time, and actually that's okay for me. In fact, we even got a little bit of Michael Jackson thrown in there in the background during the 80s cafe. Now, Bears, Back to the Future score is pretty awesome, isn't it?
It's full of themes that you remember, and that's really fun. But I miss the Huey Lewis. I mean, to me, like having Huey Lewis in the first movie and then having Double Back by ZZ Top in the third movie, I miss that there isn't a big rock song in the middle of this film. I guess the closest is Sammy Hagar, I Can't Drive 55, has a very strong moment in this, but it's not the same. It's not about time travel.
No, it's in the post-apocalyptic future when everything's terrible is when they play that. So you're right. It's not a celebrated moment within there.
I love it when guests hurt Russell's feelings because Russell does not that song.
I really do not like It's the Power of Love at all. Like, if I had to change something about the first movie, I can tell you right now. Spoiler for that episode. It's the Power of Love. So I like the Alan.
And you're wrong. You're wrong every time. Every time you say it.
Well, I like
people like pop music. It adds to the different energy of the film.
Oh wow, am I on a limb here? Or sorry, am I on an island here, Chad? I like the Alan Silvestri music. I don't want a lot of pop music.
I am with Bears 100% here.
Oh.
Like I am against dance numbers. We just talked about this in Batman, but I'm not against having time context concerts. Those are fun, and especially in my time traveling movies, Hot Tub Time Machine. I don't like the Black Eyed Peas in just about any context, but I love Craig Robinson doing it.
Okay. All right.
So we can make even the worst artist work and be a fun scene.
The thing about putting up pop music in a movie is that it's a song that people either know or they can figure out quickly, and so they can sing along or they can get it in their head, and it keeps them invested in the film. Whereas the score, I mean, it's very rare that someone sings along to the score. Even if the score is really good, you come out and you're like, that score was great, but you're not going to sit there and sing a theme, really.
I think those climactic moments, the Sylvester music's just, it's magical. Like, I'm not going to, like, I mean, this is not a John Williams score, but I'm going to say, like, this is like John Williams score, like, level. Like, this is 80s movie magic. Like, this is maybe not quite as magical as, like, E.T., but it's just like the next step down from it.
I do like the music score, the French horns and the trumpets and the da 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 da. Like, especially you mentioned the tunnel scene, and we grabs onto like the kite tail or whatever that is, and the score kicks in. All of those are magic. I do love that as well. Everything's working for me. I like the score. I like the music. I do want more. I want more context.
Yeah, I'm not saying the score doesn't work. It's just like, think about that tunnel song, and what if that, what that tunnel moment, and what if there was a big rock song going on during that? That could be really fun. It's 80s Marty versus 50s Biff. So, bring a little bit of that time machine paradox attention and give Marty some music that's going to pump him up and get him to, succeed.
I think it's awards time. What do you guys say?
I'm ready.
MVP Bears.
I mean, you just got to give it to Michael J. Fox, because he does so much in this film. He does so many different characters, and he just throws himself in it. He just really goes all out. He's on screen for almost the entire film, which is, exhausting. This is right when he was becoming the biggest star in the world, and he kind of knows it. He's trying to use his charm in the way Tom Hanks uses his charm and just become America's hero. And I love him for it.
All right, Chad, how about you? MVP.
I went with Robert Zemeckis, and if you're trying to sit down like I had to with the plot summary and explain this plot in detail, like, you're going to get a massive headache. So the only way to make this work is to make us laugh, and Zemeckis does that. And part of it is really, Bears mentioned it earlier, is just cast charming actors. Let them distract you from the absolute nonsense that we're witnessing. And he just does a wonderful job keeping you engaged. So I went with Zemeckis.
Well, if you're going to go with Zemeckis, I got to go with Bob Gale. So he's the screenplay to be able to write this and to weave it, to make that all go in with their first creation when it seemed like it was so perfect. How could you touch it? Well, they found a way to do it and create a really tight, well-made trilogy together. And so I think that starts with great writing from Bob Gale. It's a fun ride to be on. The bones are good, and then obviously Zemeckis' execution is phenomenal. But I like the foundation Gale lays.
I'd love to see the first draft of this film and what it was, and just see how it changed, because he worked on it for like 2 years.
Well, at some point I can tell you there was some stuff that was darker. Like there's some deleted scenes and stuff where Dave, his brother, and Linda, his sister, he meets them in the like dystopic future, and like Dave's like a drunk bum out in the street, and like things aren't going well. Like Marty's asking him like, "Hey, where's Dad?" And he gives him a not enough of an answer for him to piece it together, but like a very dismissive, and there's some allusion to like Mom doesn't talk to you anymore and all cryptic stuff. And then he also meets Linda, who's working as a prostitute to settle her debts. And again, Marty's family picture is a lot darker in that one. So I think some of it might be interesting to see like what you're talking about, but I also think that they made great changes along the way and kept refining stuff too. I'm with you. I'd like to see what it is, but boy, where they landed is awfully good. Best supporting Bears.
I mean, I think that's easy. I think it's Biff. I think it's Thomas Wilson. He's this is his movie. He really brings a lot to it, and if he wasn't prepared for this movie wouldn't work. He's the strongest antagonist in all three of the movies. Is the third movie, the second movie version of Biff is the strongest antagonist.
Yeah, Chad, how about you? Best supporting actor.
Ditto. He's pulling quadruple duty here. We talked about it earlier, and also shout out to his stand-up. Like, outside of these movies, go watch his stand-up. It's really funny, and he does have a bit about Back to the Future where he's playing a little ukulele and he sings the song of "Stop Asking So Many Questions."
I
That's
must see
funny.
that. I need to catch that. I'm really sad there was a Steel City Con panel that I didn't get to attend here recently. Chad made me want to go to that one, and they had Leah Thompson and Tom Wilkinson and Christopher Lloyd. So we could have right here in our own town. Those are stories I wish we could have captured here. So
So you can just yell at him, "Come on my podcast."
no, I just want to soak it in.
My understanding is he carries around cards that have answers to
Yeah.
everything people ask
He
him. And he
does.
just takes out the card and hands it to people.
Well, Christopher Lloyd is an amazing character actor. Doc Brown is an iconic character, and I can't believe I'm not picking him. But you guys both nailed it. I mean, I didn't see Thomas Wilson having this in his arsenal in the first movie. You just think he's a meathead, and this movie makes you sit there and go like, "Wow, no." I mean, over the trilogy, he is also pulling his weight in there too. So if Crispin Glover wants as much money as Leah Thompson, that's one thing. But Crispin Glover wants as much money as Tom Wilson. You didn't earn it. Thomas Wilson is awesome in this movie. He's really great. Hidden gem, Bears.
That's easy, actually. I already mentioned it. It's the guy at the end who says, I think he took his wallet. I think he took his wallet. He's really just like, it's really funny. And he does it like 4 times. And it's like, I don't know what Zemeckis was doing, allowing that to be in the film, but it's one of the things that makes the film so great. It's just some random guy. He's known as Wallet Guy, by fans of the movie. But I want the backstory of him.
I like that pick. I will now appreciate that character more, knowing how much you appreciate that character now. So
It's the dude in Family Guy that just constantly shouts at Peter, "He's a phony."
I get that. Yeah, that's another good comparison. Chad, how about you?
I'm going with the 3 goons. I don't even know if they had official names, but one of them reminded me of Bebop from Ninja Turtles. He's just got the ridiculous glasses. So they provide good like Bulk and Scully Power Rangers type henchman relief.
One of them is Billy Zane from Titanic,
Yeah.
or from The Phantom, if you want to go for a deep cut there. So yeah, my hidden gem's got to be. I mentioned him earlier. Flea. He's very memorable. Like he's scary.
He's surprisingly good. Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't do more acting after this.
I think he's busy being an amazing musician, but yeah, you're right. Like he shows that he's got what it takes here. Recast. If you had to recast somebody and put somebody else in their place, Bears, who's it going to be? They kind of did it.
I mean, I think the obvious choice is Crispin Glover. You want to erase the guy who's playing Crispin Glover's part, but I don't think that part's all that important. So I just, I just think that they don't give his girlfriend anything to do, and so my recast is either cast a stronger character so that there's somebody there, like somebody with more presence, or just get rid of that character.
Maybe they can paint themselves out of that corner some other way. I get that they had to get rid of her in the car on the way there and just knock her out. Like I can accept that as a mechanism for where this had to go. Chad, how about you?
Yeah, I'm doing the funniest thing as well and just recast Jennifer for a 3rd time in 2 movies. Who cares? It doesn't matter what the answer is. Jennifer Aniston, why not? Throw her in there.
Okay. This is pre-Leprechaun, right?
She wasn't that busy at the time, so yeah, she could have done it.
All right, I'm gonna just take the low-hanging fruit and also say Crispin Glover. Jeffrey Weissman does nail the voice of George McFly, and I was fooled for probably 2.5 decades or whatever of movie watching, so I didn't notice it and didn't pay enough attention. But now that I know that, I want Crispin Glover in there. I like Crispin Glover, and I want him in there. Best shot. If you had to pick a best shot, Bears, because there are a lot of magical moments in this. What's your best?
I love the moment where the car disappears after the lightning bolt, and Doc is so excited and he jumps up and he's cheering and he looks up at the clock tower, and that's where it cuts in the first movie, but in this one it stays there and Marty runs around the corner, and it's such a great moment. Yeah,
exactly what I meant earlier, but that Weird Al, like they nailed it. They recreated the first scene and built onto it, and they had to reshoot stuff to do it, and it's so seamless. It's so wonderful. I love that pick. Chad, how about you?
I know we talked about the hoverboards and some of the things that may not have worked, but the overhead shot of the hoverboard above water, just something simple like that. I'm like, man, this is cool. It makes me forget. Yeah, they're on cables. Of course they are. Nope. For me, in those moments, it's real.
I think the fact that they had it actually attached to his feet helped a lot. Like,
Yeah,
again, I'm not like a physicist, but I think it made it look like it looked real to me.
I like that story. We didn't include it here of where since it was strapped to him, they had to carry Michael J. Fox strapped to this board everywhere because it was like a wooden block, and I guess they couldn't just easily get him out of it. So that's just a cute picture I have in my mind of people gingerly carrying Michael J. Fox from set piece to set piece on this.
That sounds like something the actor just made up just to see if he could get that kind of attention.
Well, the toy company were overwhelmed. Mattel, whose logo appears on the
Yes.
hoverboard, they were overwhelmed by people, like you said, Bears, calling in afterwards, demanding a hoverboard. So they had a hit and they didn't even make it. So,
I love it. I love it.
all right. My best shot has got to be the 1 point perspective of the tunnel when Biff is charging in the convertible and Marty's on the hoverboard. It's such a suspenseful moment, and you're afraid for him. You're excited. It's all working. I think you mentioned that the car in the beginning wasn't nobody picked it. I think you mentioned that maybe some of that effects aged a little bit more for you, but I think the end of the first movie / the beginning of this movie, that sequence is pretty iconic too.
Absolutely, yeah.
Did they just use the same shot from the last movie from the first movie to the second movie? It seems like there wouldn't be any reason to reshoot that.
Well, again, your Jennifers are different, so a lot of stuff in the beginning is reshot just so
No.
you can.
Well, she's in the car though. I mean, so.
Yeah, what they reuse and what they don't reuse, I haven't gone through the fine tooth comb and found the differences of what's original and what's new. But the point is, it's so smooth that you can't tell. So awesome work there. Best scene, Bears.
I think I like the 80s cafe scene. I enjoy the Ronald Reagan and Ayatollah fighting, and just the fact that we've already seen that scene a couple times in the first movie. It's fun to see it recreated. It's the first one in this movie where we're really seeing the exact same scene, but like the 1985 version.
Yeah.
Or the 2015 version.
All right, I love that. Chad, how about your best scene?
It's in 1985 when Biff corners Marty on the roof and Marty just kind of steps off and the DeLorean emerges and he just rises back up. I always love that trope. That's always fun, but it goes from good to great when the DeLorean door, just the unique mechanics of that car, opens up and smacks Biff in the face. And then the theme music kicks in. Just awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I tipped my card with my best shot, but it's also my best scene when Marty is stealing the almanac back. I love it. And it's going to all culminate with him driving into a second manure truck, which is outstanding. It's a great climax to the movie. I will also say the other memorable thing, because it's not just one scene. I was thinking about going your direction, Bears, but between the 80s cafe, seeing the town square of the futuristic version of the town that we've already become acquainted to and seeing two different ways, once in the 50s and once in the 80s. It was really fun to see the future version of that too. So it wasn't such a clean scene, but that combination of like 3 or 4 different scenes of the future world that they built collectively is for me the heart of this movie. I just had to pick one though, so I had to settle on another one.
And the ledge is still broken. It's still broken in 2015 for the clock tower. Love those little touches.
Yeah.
It's great.
Best wardrobe or makeup moment? Bears.
I don't know. The makeup isn't great in this. I'm not a super fan of it. I guess I liked Old Biff. Old Biff looked pretty good. And you really appreciate it when Old Biff is with young Biff and just to see what they did. I think that looks really great.
It's fair. It's fair. You're right. I think old Lorraine and George are probably the roughest of the makeup that you're correct in saying. Not all of it's outstanding. Those two got pretty bad old makeup. I'm aware that they have to old them up to senior citizen status, but somehow Tom Wilson's turned out better. Chad, how about you? Best wardrobe or makeup moment?
That Nike tote bag or gym bag or whatever it is that Doc is carrying around is pretty sweet. Why didn't Nike make something like that? It's almost like a clearish tube with black ends. That's awesome. I want one.
Oh, nice. Nobody mentioned it, so I'm going to pick it. The orange and gray smart jacket. I feel like
Yeah.
things get called like that when you actually look at it. I haven't actually seen. I think all life preserver vests and stuff like that somehow get associated to like being like the Marty McFly jacket. So people know exactly what you're talking about, even though when you really stop and slow down, you look at it, it's not that. Any orange jacket seems to get called that, and it's pretty special that it does that. And then shout out to making Michael J. Fox look like his daughter. I mean, again, I wish they had written more humor with it or what she said or made that more of a character, but at least as a sight gag. We'd already seen him play his son. That was funny. Then he's his sister too, and his daughter, also very funny. You're getting the Nutty Professor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised that he did it, but it must have been a challenge that somebody said to him, and he said, "Okay, I hope he got more money for it." But yeah, he's on screen so much during this movie.
Bears, how about you? Change one thing.
I mean, for me, it's Jennifer. Do something with her as a character.
Yeah.
She's got to wake up and have some sort of action. It's really a great example of male cinema where the women don't do almost anything, and the men drive all of the choices. And she's the very epitome of that. They just abandon her asleep. So
okay, valid comment. I like that. Chad, how about you? Change one thing.
This is the easiest change one thing I have ever had, and it's the line, West Virginia lost to Pittsburgh 26-7. Not in my movie. Don't care that that's a real score. WVU.
They are real scores. I looked it up, that Washington UCLA game that he talks about. I looked it up, and it was a 19-17 field goal on the last minute. So
absolutely, all of those are real scores. Doesn't matter. Not in my movie. WVU crushes Pitt 48-3.
Oh, Mountaineer at heart there, Chad. All right,
Let's go.
Might change one thing. I'm copping out here and going back to the recast, but I would like to have Crispin Glover still in this movie, and I would like for Claudia Wells not to have cancer. Or sorry, Claudia Wells' mother not to have cancer, so she could be in this movie
yes,
as
that's
well.
a very nice thing, and none of us want Claudia Wells' mother to have cancer.
Yeah. So,
do we know what happened? Did she recover, or is this a bad
She
story?
doesn't return to acting for decades, so I can't specifically say. If you look at her filmography, it's a lengthy gap. It's Back to the Future, and then it's you're not in movies until like late 2000s. So I mean, I don't know the whole story there. So I mean, yeah.
It is odd that Elisabeth Shue has such great memories and speaks so fondly of this movie because she, to Bears' point, she was pointless. Like, she did practically nothing in this movie, but I'm glad she had a good time.
I will say this, in a movie of a lot of continuity and stuff, I just find, maybe it's just because we got more time with the Claudia Wells, Jennifer, to your point, Bears, I like her better, and that's just probably because of opportunity. She has more to do in the first movie, so.
Yeah, she's the one who tells him to stop being a chicken and to follow his music dreams and send his music out. So she's his guardian angel.
She does have a good moment where she's like, I'm old, I'm young, and Leah Thompson and she both faint at the same time. I love that. Again, in one of those dark deleted scenes, we see Marty and Doc haul off young Jennifer, but then there's a scene where old Marty comes in and sees that old Jennifer's passed out on the floor, and he carries her in, and he's like, come on, kids, she tried to kill herself again or whatever, and she's tried it again. Exactly. So like, again, too dark, and so there's some degree of pulling back from that darkness that either Gale and or Zemeckis did in the making of it. So glad they cut that. Best quote, Bears.
Marty, he's in a 46 Ford. We're in a DeLorean. He'd rip through us like we were tinfoil. Which is really funny because that's what happens at the end of the third movie. When it hits the train, and it just basically just crumbles into pieces. It's not a well-made car. It's just pretty and expensive, but it was not very forceful. So it's kind of funny because the DeLorean is given such respect through this movie. So it's a fun moment where they rip on it.
Okay, I thank you for that's yet another connection I hadn't put together. Love it. Chad, how about you? Best quote.
This is also some heavy foreshadowing from Doc. The other great mystery of the universe. Women.
Right.
Well, I'm going to go lowbrow potty humor here, but I love it when Biff goes, Manure! I hate manure!
Why are you doing Christopher Walken?
Manure? I hate manure. Smells bad. Don't like it. No. And we all know it turns into manure. Oh, I hate manure later
Yeah.
on. So I love this line, and it's a great finish for a perfectly hateable villain. So we've come full circle. And on a 5-star scale, Bears, are you going to give Back to the Future 2?
I think it's a 4-star movie for me on a 5-star scale. Definitely the first one is a 5. This is a 4, and maybe the third one is a 4.5 or so. There's some problems in this movie. It's uneven, but it's written to be uneven. It takes place in so many different decades and timelines that it's a little bit on the confusing side. But I don't think I had any problem following it when I was 14, so it can't be that confusing.
Right. Now, Chad, how about you? What are you going to rate this movie on a 5-star scale, half-star intervals?
It's still a 5 for me. A product placement, convoluted plot, doesn't matter. It's just cinema magic to me.
I love it. I'm going to land right between you guys at a 4.5. This movie is risen to a 4.5 for me. I think I was closer to where you were, Bears. This is a distant 3.5 or 4. And studying it somehow changes how I feel about it, and the weaving that I've just mentioned, how much it is a love letter to the first movie for the fans, and how well they executed that makes me really respect it.
Yeah, it's great. I've never seen a movie do that as well as this movie,
I've gotten over it to some degree of some of the darkness that's in it. And I've even come to appreciate some of the your life versus what you thought your life would be. So now that I am closer to old Marty's age than I am young Marty, I think that has also given me some moments to also have, there's humor for an older generation of you, and that multi-layering is kind of special. So I'm up to a 4.5 for this one. And Bears, I want to ask one more time from you. Tell us one more time about how far does the dark go and where we can find that.
Well, hopefully you'll find it soon playing at a film festival near you. It's newly finished and it's at that submission stage, so it's like you send it out to a bunch of festivals and try to get them to play it. I'm looking for my world premiere, and there's a possibility it might be near you guys. I know the director in Pittsburgh. I know people in all the states in the Midwest, so I'm very excited that sometime this month we'll get it out there. And then there's just not that many lesbian horror films out there. It's just not a genre that really gets a lot of attention. So I think it's going to be something that a lot of people find very special. I've played it for a lot of friends who are lesbians, and they're like, this is the kind of movie I always wish I had growing up. So I'm very excited about that.
And Chad, Chad always says he needs more horror movies in general, and he's ready for all horror movies, all things horror at all times.
This is true. Yeah.
Great. Well, I'll let you know when you can watch it.
Chad, next time we're going to come back with another movie. Can you help me pick one?
All right, Russell. The beat is irresistible. The lights are low, and the floor is calling. Whether it's a summer fling that heats up with every step, clash of styles that sparks unexpected magic, or a descent into the dark perfection of performance. These next 3 movies prove one thing: when words fall short, dancing says it all. So option number 1, Billy Elliot from 1987. A talented young boy becomes torn between his unexpected love of dance and the disintegration of his family. Option 2, Silver Linings Playbook from 2012. After a stint in a mental institution, former teacher Pat Solitano moves back in with his parents and tries to reconcile with his ex-wife. Things get more challenging when Pat meets Tiffany, a mysterious girl with problems of her own. Or option 3, Dirty Dancing from 1987. Spending the summer at a Catskills resort with her family, Frances Baby Houseman falls in love with the camp's dance instructor, Johnny Castle. What's it going to be? What's your beat?
Well, I've had the time of my life on this podcast, and I'm going to keep it going next week with Dirty Dancing.
Oh, excellent. We're about to find what corner Baby can be put in. Look forward to it.
Bears, thank you so much. We had a blast as well. You've been a great guest over the years, and this was no exception. Thank you so much. We always love having you on the show.
Yeah, it's always great to come back and talk movies with people who really spend the time to break things apart. I love it. So thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you, all the lords, ladies, and knights of the Retro Movie Roundtable. We invite you to reach out to us. We want to hear from you. Subscribe, rate, and review to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Pandora, wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give us a like on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at @movie_retro. Email us at retromovieroundtable@yahoo.com. And producing and providing this podcast is fun, but not free. So we invite you to support the show at our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/retromovieroundtable. All contributions are much appreciated and will go towards making the show better for you, the listeners. As always, thank you for listening. Be good to each other and watch more movies. Chat?
Great White Buffalo.